to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. We have a Seminole and a Gator together, trying to put aside their differences and bring you the fantastic world of college football. Thank you for joining us on this ride of hype, hope, and hilarity. Today we will recap Week 1 games around the state of Florida. We will preview the next week's matchups, and we'll send you a reminder about our Patreon, VIP, and Diamond status, which are up and running. So how are you feeling about today's show, my friend?
Always good, especially when the Gators win. Always a good show. Always a good week.
Absolutely. Not so fortunate on the Florida State side. We'll get into that later. But pretty good action. I'm going to defer to you, Chris, kind of give a recap of the Gators and the Charleston Southern matchup.
Yeah. We kicked off the Mullen era with a 53-6 win over Charleston Southern, and it was just a really good feeling to win, and to win convincingly, and to actually look good while you win. I completely understand that we did not play a top-tier team, but it's just the last few years have just been up and down, a roller coaster, and it's just a little bit of hope. I know a lot of Gator fans are, I think, overreacting a little bit, but they should be excited, though. They should be excited because one thing I noticed, and I was talking to our friend Jared, the one word that he brought up, and I totally agree, is fun. It looks like they were having a lot of fun. In the stands, the sidelines, the coaching staff, even one point of the game, Dan Mullen was caught dancing a bit in between the breaks there. So it was fun, and we needed that. Gator Nation needs some fun, and we got that on Saturday night. As far as the game goes, we did pretty good all across the board. Offense, defense, special teams. It's one thing this staff has been hitting on, and we saw that when Meyer was here, the emphasis on special teams. And to the point where, if you grade out as what they call a champion in special teams, you get to eat first. You get to eat some steak and lobsters. You get treated special if you are a special team star. Even to the point where our starting running back, Jordan Scarlett, made a tackle on kickoff. He was in there making a tackle. And we've seen that with Meyer was here. Starters would be on offense and defense would be on special teams, kickoff and punt block and stuff. Yeah. So, we had 2 blocked kicks. One of the extra points we returned for 2 points. The kickers were solid. They didn't let anybody have any long returns or anything like that. So it was really good to have that emphasized. On the offensive side of the ball, Felipe Franks got the start. He only played a half and threw 5 touchdowns.
Wow.
Over 200 yards passing. He looked confident. I'm going to say I know who the opponent was, but he looked confident in his passes. He looked they were precise. He ran a little bit, but not too much. And he spread it out to a bunch of receivers. I think out of the 5 touchdowns, 4 different receivers caught touchdowns. Yeah. So our 2 transfers, Grimes and Jefferson, they caught touchdowns. So it was real good to see that. Running game was okay, but they had some long runs here and there, but it wasn't an emphasis of this game. But all the running backs touched it, and all looked pretty decent. Yeah. Good protection on the line. We got to see all the quarterbacks. Like Franks only played the first half. Trask and Jones played the second half, and even I think our 4th-string quarterback took the last snap in the victory formation. Okay. But it was good to see a lot of people, a lot of bodies on both sides of the ball, but especially offense, just getting some reps in. And that's the one thing, if I could say that, nitpick a little bit, just a little bit, it's just I'd like to see the running game more. But I was pleased on offense, it really was. Defense, we didn't let them score till the 4th quarter when our backups were in. They harassed the quarterback all night. Our starting DN, CeCe Jefferson, was suspended, and was next man up, and I think David Reese, our starting middle linebacker, was injured, didn't play. Obviously didn't matter. It's pretty good. It was really good to see them just dominate, and we've seen the tendency of us in recent to kind of struggle teams that we shouldn't be struggling with.
Okay.
And we did not see that Saturday, and that was just a nice relief. I think that's the first step to getting to a championship level, is beating the teams you should beat and beating them the way you should beat them.
Right.
And I think that's the first step, and we took that step, and I'm just very excited to see that. Only one big misstep on defense was they kind of like hurried up, and we looked right out of line, and they snapped the ball before everyone was set, and the running back broke a tackle, and went almost to the end zone. Okay. Thankfully, Chauncey Gardner ran him down, showing his speed, which eventually we would block their field goal. So then later on they would tack in a late touchdown, but then we responded by blocking their extra point.
Right.
So I know it's not going to be a perfect game, but it was pretty near perfect for the majority of the game. But whenever we faced any bit of adversity, seemed to respond real well. Even the backups were responding real well. So it was real good to see. And like I said, we had fun. And one play that's a good example of that is we saw a jump pass again for a touchdown.
Yeah, I saw that.
Felipe Franks did a jump pass, and it was pretty cool. And, Mullen has been doing the right stuff and saying the right stuff. And, one great thing to link this team to what people remember us winning is something like a jump pass. It's fun. It's effective. It was at a point in the game where it wasn't didn't really matter too much. Now, I will say this, though. If you watch the play again, Frank's, all he has to do is just run, and he scores a touchdown. There was, especially on the right, oh my goodness, big hole. But they call it's probably a predetermined play, obviously, but it worked. It worked fine. So all around, good game for the Gators. Really good way to start it. Anytime you hang 50 in the swamp, it's a good feeling, no matter who it is. And we're real excited. We're real excited to play SEC caliber teams this coming week.
Yeah, so a couple of thoughts that I saw. Yeah, the 5 touchdown passes by Frank stood out, considering he only had 9 all of last season. So good for him. Even threw in 34 yards rushing just to help the cause a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, the running backs, I liked the way they spread it out, give a lot of guys some touches. I think you're right. I think I saw maybe the longest runs were in the upper 20, low 30s range. And so nobody's busting it long, but that's probably because you want to just share the wealth a bit, and you want to get some guys some touches. And the block kicks, I don't care who the opponent is, that's always a good sign right there. And didn't Urban Meyer say, if you block a kick, you win a game over 90% of the time?
I think it was if you block a kick or a punt, I think you increase your chances of winning by 80%. I think that's something like that. Yeah. So we did it twice, and I really like the fact that Mullen is putting an emphasis on this. I think we had a starting running back make a tackle on special teams, and our 4th string running back make a tackle on special teams. It doesn't matter who you are. If you want to be on the field, you want to play, there you go. That's a great avenue for you. And one of his press conferences, Mullen was saying, when you recruit a guy, they don't come in thinking, I have to practice and work at blocking punts. I have to practice on defending receivers or making cuts. So emphasizing, hey, while you're here, you're going to do a lot of different things, and you're going to succeed and just get the same notoriety and fame and all that stuff, and even more so if you do it on special teams, which is great. And he says, he said if you win special teams, all you got to do is win offense or defense. You don't have to win them both, because then you'd have 2 out of 3. So win special teams, and you could pick and choose which one you want to win that game.
How about that?
Yeah, so it's an interesting philosophy, and I like that. So yeah, you win 2 out of 3 matchups, you're probably going to win. So I like that going forward.
Yeah. Well, emphasis special teams. That's the quote hidden yards of where the game can be won and lost. So
Yeah.
all right. So yeah, overall, looks like Florida took care of business. There was a lot of good plays. I even saw that Dan Mullen threw his visor in the stands, gave a little souvenir to a fan. So
Yeah,
part of the other
really
fun.
Cool. Been real cool to have gotten that. Yeah, I'm excited all around. Just relieved. But I don't want to get too excited till we see
Sure.
an SEC road game. Just we're not there yet, but this is nice. This is real nice. Real good start.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I think that you have probably accomplished all their goals there.
Yeah.
And are all ready for Kentucky, which we'll talk about that game here in a little bit.
Yeah.
So another game we want to recap. This will be the Florida State Virginia Tech game, and there's I'll start with the positives first, and we'll move on to some of the opportunities that the Noles have going forward. Some of the things I took away from this game on Monday night: tough loss at home, obviously. 7 different players caught a pass, and one of the things that I brought to the forefront of our attention as far as returning offensive starters was Keith Gavin, our wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't a whole lot of attention given to him, or at least not nearly as much as some of the other wide receivers. So glad that we kind of got ahead of this one, and he was the receiver that got the most attention, at least in the first half. And he unfortunately did drop what would have been a touchdown pass, and a very, very, I would say a very, very good throw. But spread the ball around as far as receiving went. Obviously, the biggest play of the game was a long run of 85 yards by Cam Akers. Mm-hmm. What was probably more surprising is that only 2 running backs got touches. Jacquez Patrick got some action as well. Cam Akers went for 82 yards. Yes, that's including an 85-yard run.
Right.
And Patrick ran for 40 on 7 touches. So, yeah, it's somewhat fair to isolate that one run and say, outside of this, Florida State did nothing. But it's also not fair to totally isolate it. And by that, I mean that's what our offense is kind of schemed to do. Pound, 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 and then a big play is going to pop up, whether it's passing or running. So that's kind of the way it's designed. And so we would have liked to have seen better numbers just on the normal first, second down rushing. But it's still a great opportunity there that was lost. Another thing I really liked was Jaden Woodby's effort. He's a freshman. He had 9 tackles, 1.5 for loss, and he went out of the game kind of late with, we were kind of guessing it was a shoulder injury, and we were correct on. He seems to be fine. So kind of locked out of play. He was in immense pain, though. I was like, oh, that could be a shoulder. Could have been like a rib, wind knocked out of him. But it looks like he'll be fine to return next week.
Okay, I thought something was broken the way he was grimacing on the field.
Yeah, well, I guess it popped out of place, and they got it back in. So once that happens, then you're usually good to go.
Okay.
So another good effort was Corey Durden. 1.5 tackles for loss on the defensive line. A guy I didn't really know much about, not going to lie.
Okay.
Some other positives. We held Virginia Tech scoreless on 10 straight possessions. That was fantastic, including a 4th and goal. Got to stop at the 1-yard line. We had a really good start on 3rd down, 3 of 5. And we actually outgained Virginia Tech, 327 total yards.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Well, I saw that Francois outpassed the guy by a lot, the other Virginia Tech's quarterback by a lot.
Right. The passing game, that was one thing I also saw as a positive, was to see Francois be able to drop back and pass with confidence. We'll talk about the end of the game was a little bit different. But some other things, despite the loss, I don't feel like the morale very diminished. Taggart and our center Eberle, who was one of the captains, is saying, we put it on us. We should have done better. Mm-hmm. Teammates were emotional, but still look pretty good going forward. And then probably the last positive I really liked was the management of timeouts were really good. I know it's something really silly, but under old coaching staffs, we would have 4 or 5 timeouts on offense every single game.
Right.
So use them on defense at the end of the first half, and then we use 1 on offense for a key 3rd down and goal. So thought that was very well managed there. So that was all the positives I took away from the game.
Okay.
The opportunities abound, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So a missed field goal, that's not something Florida State likes to ever hear. We're talking about the block kicks. Well, we had a block punt return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And there you go. As soon as that happened, my mind went right to the percentage that you and I have discussed before.
Yep.
And I said, well, we're going to fight, and it's going to have to be a large comeback from here.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know if this was necessarily an opportunity. I wonder how the game would have played out differently on the last meaningful drive before half. I think we might have had the ball somewhere else, but we got down to the Virginia Tech 21, and it's 4th and 2. That would have been a 38-yard try for Ricky Aguayo.
Okay.
And he's under 40. He's really, really good. 41 plus. I think he was 1 of 3 last year, so we kind of gave up. And even our punter can try long ones sometimes. So I don't know that going for it was bad. I just would like to see if we'd taken that field goal, that would have given us 3 points. We'd be down 17-6.
The way that your defense was playing, getting that just points on the board, momentum into the half, and knowing you're getting the ball the first in the beginning of the second, I think would have really helped. Yeah,
it's hard to know now, but the old adage, it would have been a great call if it worked, and it was a bad call if it didn't.
Yeah, right. If it works, you're a genius. If it doesn't, you're a fool. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm curious to see where that would have changed the complexion of the game. Most notably, early in the fourth quarter, after we get 3rd and goal. Let's just assume we had held on to the ball and Akers didn't fumble it on that play. I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Maybe you can actually settle for a field goal there and make it 17-9.
Right.
Then you're only down by 8. So.
Right.
But if you're down 17-3 at that point, there really wasn't an option. We had to go for it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think the turning point was that block punt for touchdown.
Absolutely.
Because it's just the wind out of your sails, and obviously we talked about the statistics, and but you're still kind of close. Was it 10-3 or something like that, or
it's 10-3 before that, right?
Yeah, you're really close, but just knowing what could have been with the quote unquote fumble or knee down, whatever, and then just that happened right after. I think that was just not the knockout punch, because they still hung around, but that's when it's like, oh man, this game is going to be an uphill battle the rest of the way.
Yep. And the starting field position just absolutely killed us. We talked about that as a strength in the preview episode, but we didn't know it'd be that good. The fact that we'd be starting on our own 19 as an average the entire game.
Yeah.
4 possessions in a row, we're starting inside the 10. It's just playing out of our own end zone the entire third quarter, essentially.
Yeah.
We actually ended up, even though we started 3 of 5 on third downs, we ended up being 5 of 16, and we just couldn't get it converted.
All right.
We also had 5 sacks. The offensive line clearly needs to make some readjustments and improve. There was even a couple of plays where you just kind of lost, like what happened here. So make matters a little bit worse, there were 2 interceptions thrown late in the game by Francois. The first one might have made a difference, but they were both with less than 6 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So it didn't make a whole lot of it. So it looks really bad to have 5 turnovers, but one of those I can chalk up to garbage time, and the other one, not so much, maybe.
Yeah.
So those are some of my opportunities there.
I like the way you spin it, opportunities. Yeah, just so many times that you see throughout the game that Florida State was so close to either scoring or doing something right, and then followed it up with a mistake or being out hustled or something like that. And it was just, it looked like they were about to, okay, here comes the momentum, and then they stopped. Or they're about to figure out the offense, and then they shoot themselves in the foot with something. And it must have been a frustrating game to watch for Florida State fans.
Yes, you put 4 fumbles on the ground, and we don't recover any of them. Now,
Yeah.
I know that some of those, like one practically rolled out of bounds, so
Right.
how much you can. One of them was a muff punt, and he got around on top of it. But how much of that's luck, and how much of it is Harlan Barnett has always harped on you're going to go to where the ball is, and so I would have liked to have seen at least one of those recovered, and obviously I would have liked to have seen him put in the end zone once, which we nearly did, but stopped short in the red zone. It's not indicative of Florida State or really Taggart. It started to just get a really weird vibe around the second quarter, and Florida State never really got out of the funk.
Right. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on the Akers play going into the? Was it Akers or Nooney?
The wide receiver. So there was 2 plays. I'll probably talk about both of them. So the first one is Nooney Murray catching the pass and getting down at the 1.
That's the one.
I think I'm okay with that. They even said later when they reviewed it that he was down.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so 2 things to consider. He kind of bobbled the ball at the end. So if I'm Florida State, I'm like, oh man, did he lose it and we get a touchback? Then it's the right call to hurry up.
Right.
But if there's any chance he scored, then that's when you would have want to take the time. Now, one thing I did catch here was the next play we got a false start.
Yeah.
And the refs, I actually caught this before they said it. I said, I don't think that counts. They still have a chance to review that play.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And so he clarified, if it was a legal snap, you can't review it. But since it wasn't a legal snap and it was a false start, they could have buzzed down and said, hey, let's take a look at this.
Which I'm surprised they didn't at that point.
Yeah.
I get why they hurried up and I snapped. I get their mindset, but why the people in the booth or upstairs, whatever, didn't. The fact that it was a play that potentially was a scoring play.
Right.
They didn't take time to. I thought that they were always going to be review scoring plays, so they didn't take the time after the flag to do it. It's just kind of interesting.
We even had a little more time. You're right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good. The other play was the 3rd and goal early in the 4th quarter. We come out of a timeout, and they put Cam Akers under the wild cam. I think that's what I saw the State media call that. Now, as a reminder, Cam Akers was a quarterback in high school.
All right.
And he run the option a lot. So this wasn't totally new, but it's kind of something you don't share because it's somewhat of a trick play, but not really.
Yeah.
So I actually wasn't terribly against that call. I don't think it was executed very well, and as the announcers kind of caught on, they said, hey, if he kept it or handed it off, they would get popped pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But, I don't...
Well, my thing is if you're struggling so much offensively and you finally got a rhythm, doing anything to break that rhythm is just I question it a little bit.
Okay.
But I will say though, didn't they call a timeout?
We did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, coming off a timeout when you take a timeout specifically, obviously for that play, and you still mess it up, that's kind of like I don't know if that's coaching or what, but that's kind of on the coaches. But I just don't like the idea of we finally got a rhythm and now we're going to change it up. It seemed a little desperate, but maybe it's because you needed to be desperate because you were losing. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little fair though. You've got things going, you got a chance to put it in the end zone. I would have hoped that play would have been run, but at a better time. I just don't know that we had that time because we were so deep in our own territory most of the entire second half. So I like the play call. Maybe just the timing would be better. I think we can probably agree on that.
Yeah.
So, there's that. A couple other notes from the game. I don't know how much the new kickoff fair catch rule is affecting other teams, but there were only 3 total returns this entire game. We had 1 late, and that was because we were down. You had to take a chance on running the ball back. I think Virginia Tech had 2 returns, but I'm curious to see going forward how most teams will use the new rule where you can fair catch it behind the 25 and get the ball at the 25.
Yeah.
That ought to be interesting. I think probably what I saw tonight will be a small sample size of what will happen around the nation, which is early in the game, no need to risk it. If you might need a big play, maybe I'll try it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
kind of deal.
I know it happened at least once in the Florida game. I don't remember how many times it happened more, but only one time at least that I noticed it.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
interesting.
Interesting. Yes.
So I have a question for you. Do you think this game was more reflection of, for lack of better terms, how bad Florida State is, or how good Virginia Tech is?
Well, I wouldn't go to say that Florida State is bad. They need some improvement, and I think we're going to be okay.
So
but
it's more reflection of Vatek, you think?
I think it's a little of both. I'll be completely honest. Vatek was very ready. They put their foot on the gas and didn't let up. They said, we've got them pinned. We're not going to let them move. They, as a defensive line, really that was probably their strength, just kept the pressure coming. So even if the offensive line had figured some things out, they would bring a new package, or they would sometimes do a shift or bring a linebacker up. So, that classic Bud Foster look is still there, and he still got it.
Okay, gotcha.
But, you're right. We still outgained them on offense. So they had 2 touchdowns. One of them was late in the game. They caught a pass. They're up 17-3, and our defense has stopped them literally since the middle of the second quarter up until this point, and it was just bound to happen. They broke through. So, their quarterback, he didn't do anything spectacular, I don't think. They took advantage of some matchups where the wide receiver was taller than the D-back, and they really liked to pick on Levante Taylor last night, who's our best corner, and they had some success early on, but he started to figure things out later. So, good for them to play to their strengths, to do what they can. They certainly took advantage of the turnovers, if nothing more than getting the field position. So, yeah, I think Virginia Tech's probably a little better than we thought. Florida State's got a little more opportunity than we thought to.
Mm-hmm.
The 9-3, most people were saying, looks a little shaky, but we'll be fine. We'll talk about the games coming up, but Florida State's going to win probably the next 3 and get a chance to recover.
Yeah, well, you saw flashes of the potential in offense, but I really it all comes down to blocking, the offensive line.
Yep.
If they couldn't stop the D line. They were always in the backfield, and I could see when they did actually block. I could see they had the athletes on the edge. Florida State always does. And I could see the potential of it.
Yep. I wonder if we'd had more success going vertical versus trying to stretch the field side to side. Yeah. We just kept throwing these dink outs, and our wide receivers could use some blocking tips too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had 5 sacks, but I didn't see the full number on tackles for loss. It was probably in the 9 to 10 neighborhood, just because we had so many negative rushing yards. We had, at one point they said nearly half our plays were 0 or negative yards. Obviously, it's just not going to get it done.
No.
So,
well, I wouldn't jump ship or anything like that. It's one game. It's against a quality opponent. Mm-hmm. It's early. Yeah, they're figuring out everything from the coaching staff to the plays. It's fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a couple other interesting things I saw in this game. There were 14 total punts. That's I don't know. I love those kinds of games. I know most fans don't, and it's certainly if you're only going to score 3 points, that makes it even stand out more. Yeah. The fast-paced offense didn't get going very often, and when it did, this is just my personal feeling on this. Fans should not boo any kind of injury, real or fake. I don't think it's our place to making any kind of negative comment or presence or any naysaying cheers. Yeah. Just in case it's a real injury, because it's evident that there's one and it was just blatant that this guy was not hurt at all, and you can see it. It's all over the web. But there were other times that guys were getting hurt. It was very humid. It was rainy. Guys were slipping.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish.
I was just gonna say. That's when cramps come up, and when you get pressured and you just land the wrong way, it's just gonna happen. And so we were actually booing during a real injury too.
Yeah, when the first one happened, my wife asked me, why are they booing? And I explained, because sometimes during a fast-paced offense, teams will fake an injury. And she goes, is he faking? I'm like, I don't know. And then they show the replay where he looked to the sideline, then fell down. I'm like, and that's why they boo. But later on, 2 Virginia Tech players hit each other, helmet to helmet, and they fell down, and Florida State was still booing.
Right.
And I think you always have to err on the side of caution. Like you don't know if it's real or not. Don't. I agree. You shouldn't be doing that stuff. I understand it's frustrating. I get that. But you, unless you absolutely know, then you shouldn't. You shouldn't boo or be negative towards a player that could potentially be seriously injured.
Yep.
And then go after the game. Then when you see the tape of the guy faking it, say your opinion. State your opinion online or whatever you got to do. But unless you know, I would refrain from doing that stuff.
I like that. Afterwards, make it known in some kind of social media or something. Okay. I didn't even think about that. That's good.
To your friends, I just don't think that's the right time and place.
Yep. Well, especially given the heat of the moment and the pace of the game, refs, players, coaches don't know right then and there. They don't have the instant replay like we do, and the camera angles. So
because they're following, for the most of the part, they're following the ball and not so much them.
Right.
But I mean, I saw a meme about it today. I thought it was hilarious. And I'm a Florida fan, but I thought that was pretty funny because it was so blatant. I think that's the way you do it. Don't do it during the game.
Right.
But easier said than done when I'm a Florida fan at the house, and not a Florida State fan in Doak as it's happening.
Sure. That group mentality. One person starts, it just kind of echoes out. So
yeah, what's the saying? Like a person is smart, people are dumb. So I think you're absolutely right.
I like that. Well, those are my thoughts on the game. The last thought I'll leave the fans with is the title of a book and / quote of Bill Walsh, the legendary coach for the San Francisco 49ers. The title of the book is "The Score Will Take Care of Itself."
Yeah.
The whole idea behind continuing your system, going through your progressions, maintaining your blocks, being on time for meetings, the whole part of it is to win games. But you shouldn't focus on winning so much. Focus on the small things, and the score will take care of itself. So I feel fine going forward. I don't feel like any of this is any need for concern. When you have new coaching staff, these kinds of losses are going to happen. And so, it is what it is. Obviously, I would love us to win. I would love to see some of those red zone trips end in touchdowns. I will look forward to seeing a touchdown next week. But I think these things will get ironed out. We will rebound from this. Everything will be fine.
Yeah. It's early. It's early. But I mean, I understand the frustration and the maybe knee-jerk reaction to this new system, new everything. Everything is hyped, and you come out the first drive, and they score, and then a field goal, and all of a sudden, this new era, you're down 10-0.
Right.
All of a sudden. So I understand a little bit of panic, but don't need the panic button yet.
Yep, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And Willie Taggart's not going anywhere. This is a dream job, and he's gonna do this. So,
Yeah, it's one game. Now, if this continues throughout the season, next season, then do say something, but not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
All right. So that'll recap our games, and I feel like that was pretty thorough, and we threw some numbers out there to kind of talk about how the season will look going forward. So, real quickly, we did want to cover some of the other teams around the state of Florida and how they did. Chris, I'll let you kind of cover some of the South Florida teams if you'd like.
Yeah, we one of the biggest matchups outside of Florida State, Virginia Tech within the state was Miami and LSU. And this is in Dallas, I believe.
Yep.
And LSU just stomped them. They really did. That defense of theirs. Miami scored a couple touchdowns later in the game, but LSU's defense and run game was just way too much for Miami. And but again, it's one game. Miami will, I think, probably rebound and be fine for the most part. But they just weren't ready. They weren't ready for LSU. And I said this before. I'm going to say it again. Who knows which LSU team you got, and you got a good one that
okay.
night. You got the good LSU.
Interesting point. I thought that LSU controlled field position well, and the bright spot for the Hurricanes, the wide receivers, man, they were just making highlight reel
Yeah.
catches. Good for them. And
Yeah, they do have was number 4, I think. I don't know who it was, but yeah, he was spectacular.
lighting it up. So I was kind of surprised giving up 33 with the defense Miami has, especially the good linebackers. So that'll be fine. I don't know, given the Virginia Tech game, whether or not Va Tech is the favorite in the Coastal anymore. I'm not going to go there quite yet. Give it a couple more weeks, and I'll tell you.
Okay. And how did UCF do?
UCF continued to roll. They went up to UConn, and just as I expected, they embarrassed the Huskies. Their backup quarterback scored a 60-yard touchdown run, and their second string was in by the third quarter. So, so UConn actually did get a lot of yards in this game, but they just kept turning the ball over. They had 2 very long drives that should have scored on, and then they fumbled it or threw a pick. So, no need for the Knights to worry yet. They're gonna have a pretty high-scoring offense again. Yeah, it's just a matter of who can neutralize it, and how will they handle the off game where they have 6 drop passes or something. So Knights are fine.
No, they'll be all right.
Yeah.
As far as FAU, they had a tough first game going at Oklahoma, and they just got trounced 63 to 14. And I caught a little bit of it, some of the highlights, and they just didn't want to be there. There was one play where they threw a short pass to the receiver, or something like that. He ran through the safeties, and one of the safeties just didn't want any contact.
Wow.
And he kind of just made minimal attempts, stuck his arm out there to tackle him, and then he went and chased him down, and I'm doing air quotes, because he really didn't give maximum effort on that. And it just kind of looked like they didn't want to be there, and Oklahoma's offense just was clicking. So tough one for them.
Wow. So, the Knights won 56-17, and not quite the 60 score, but, man, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah. That score gets that bad, you're right. The effort eventually quit. I mean, they didn't look like they were going to score for a while in that game. Right. Yep. Over in Tampa, South Florida handled business with Elon. Nothing really remarkable there. But didn't FIU?
They played Indiana.
Yeah. How'd that go?
And they lost by 10, which I thought was pretty decent for them.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be bigger margin than that, but 38-28 to Indiana at home. But it was good for them that they kept it close, because I thought that was just going to be, not to say that Indiana is a great team, but I just thought they were way more than 10 points better than them. But not a too bad of a start for them.
Yeah, I think in our preview you talked about how FIU, you're like, maybe a bowl game 6-6. I don't know that I'm going to buy that. I think they win 4 or 5 games. So I probably would have said that even before this one, and I actually played a little better in this game than I thought, but I'll still stick with my 4 to 5 wins.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, that's week 1 in the state of Florida. I mean, it was a fun one, right? Isn't it great just to be talking about actual games again? Yeah,
it is.
Feels right.
It really is. This is fun. Fun time of the year.
Feels right. So
yeah,
we have a lot coming up in week 2, and I'll let you talk to the Gator preview first, and then what little I have to add about Florida State's second game, I'll go ahead and throw in, and then we'll do a wrap around the state too. So UF, they have the Kentucky Wildcats coming.
Yes, and this is at the Swamps, I think, night game. Kentucky, they hosted Central Michigan last week. They were up by 1 at halftime. Ended up winning by 15. They had to overcome 4 turnovers. And that first half and second half are two totally different halves for them. So they struggled a little bit, but they were rebounded. And they had one thing that was interesting is they almost had 300 yards rushing as a team, not many yards passing, which is not like your typical Kentucky team. So it's going to be an interesting matchup going forward into this week. It's SEC play. It is a whole nother level, even though Kentucky is considered to be one of the bottom of the SEC, or at least mid-range at best. Still, it's SEC football. This is a team in Kentucky that's used to playing bigger teams. So they're used to playing teams like Florida. So it's a nice progression, nice next step for us, and we're interested to see how we do. I think we're not going to see as much of a rotation offense with the running backs, but who knows? We do get some players back, whether it's health-wise or from suspension, so I'm excited about that. So we're going to have more depth going to them. We won 31 in a row, and eventually you're going to have to lose. We're not going to win every single game ever against them, but I don't think it's this week. Don't think it's this year. We should win. I think we're projected to 14 points. I think that's good. I say we're about 17 point favorite. I say we should win by 17 rather.
Okay.
It's going to be a little tougher. Maybe we don't. I don't think we're going to drop 53 like we did last week. But I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of came out a little sluggish, but just throughout the game, just show that we're just a little bit ahead of them.
Okay, I like that. Is there any area that Kentucky may have the upper hand, or any way they could possibly beat you?
Stoops' defense is always something you have to worry about. They have a pretty decent new quarterback in, but they didn't do too much. But like I said, that running game, if they can get ahead of the chains to that running game on us, it could be a little dicey there, because I think one of our weakest units is the linebacker.
Okay.
So I think we have a good D line, but one of our weaker units, especially middle linebacker overall, and our middle linebacker David Reese wasn't there this past week. Should be healthy enough for this week, but if he's not, then that would raise my concern a little more. Okay. If they can get a decent running game on us, then I would be kind of nervous controlling the ball, taking the ball away from us, controlling the clock. I could see that as a potential.
Okay, all right. I think Florida wins pretty comfortably. It may be close, third quarter-ish, maybe early fourth, but yeah. I'll take Gators by 13. I don't know, 17 sounds like a high spread to cover. Not that Florida can't, but yeah, I think they handle business. So
yeah.
All right. Well, nothing much to preview for Florida State. We've got Samford coming out of the FCS, and it's funny. Their game week 1, was like their easy opponent. So they won 66-9.
Okay.
So, clearly in the FCS they're pretty good and they're competitive, but no need to worry here. I think the Noles might even put up an extra touchdown over what I kind of originally projected to kind of get things going. So no need for worry here. Low 50s, somewhere around there. Probably maybe give up 7 or 10.
Okay. Now, do you think, I don't know if anyone else is saying this, but is it time to maybe look at a different quarterback?
No, not at all.
No? Okay.
I'm not going to hesitate on that. Francois is still the guy.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, and that question kind of came up late in the game with the people we're kind of watching with. They're like, nah, it wouldn't make a difference. And, he still handles the ball well. He still showed me some good presence passing, and 2 interceptions really late in the game kind of forced it. Yeah, he's fine.
Okay.
I still like Francois going forward.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I mean, out of the natural progression of this game, we'll still see Blackman. And,
right.
Given our third-string quarterback is transferring, I don't know who we're going to see after that. We're down to our walk-ons at that point. That's going to be an interesting caveat this season.
Man. Yeah. Joe.
So yeah, win comfortably at home versus the Samford Bulldogs. So, okay. All right. Yeah. So who do the South Florida teams have coming up in week 2?
Nobody really. Miami's, it's whatever game. FIU's got Old Dominion, which might be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
And FAU has Air Force. That's kind of at least a notable name you've heard of in Boca. So that'd be kind of interesting, but nothing for Miami really. They get to breathe a little bit and hopefully get some confidence.
Yeah, Savannah State is who they're playing.
Yeah,
and
that's
Florida,
what it is. Yeah.
We've played them too, and it was the year that Florida State played them. We got down to we should use a running clock. This is getting out of hand kind of deal. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So actually, UCF has a breather too. South Carolina State.
Okay.
First home game. That'll be a very easy one for them. But the most interesting game in the state, I'm going to say, outside of Florida, Kentucky, South Florida plays Georgia Tech.
There we go.
So that's a fun one. I think the Yellow Jackets, they probably are going to be favored by 7, maybe 10.
Okay.
With the triple option, it can be neutralized pretty well with some defensive line, which South Florida just is rebuilding too much on right now. So I don't see any worry for that. Georgia Tech, by the way, is one of those middle of the tier ACC teams that is going out and playing South Florida, and they're going to be playing Central Florida in a couple of years down the road. So,
nice.
That's a game the ACC needs to win, and I think they do.
Okay.
So no problem with the Yellow Jacks, but interesting, fun matchup for sure.
Right. Yeah, interesting. Do you know? Did you say where that was at?
It is in Tampa, yeah.
In Tampa. Okay. They might have a little bit. Maybe close the gap a little bit because they're at home. But yeah, I agree. Georgia Tech should win that game.
Take care of it. Yep.
Yeah. I agree.
All right. So that recaps all of Week 1 for the state of Florida. Week 2 should be fun for sure.
Yeah.
Real quick reminder to our fans, a lot of ways you can get in touch with us. Patreon, patreon.com/Florida Focus Podcast. We have our 2 tiers if you're willing to support the show financially. $1 a month gets you VIP status, which is the private Facebook page, and our eternal thanks. The $5 a month is the diamond level. You get, on top of the private Facebook page, a welcome package, and you get access to our secret episodes, which were released last night. So how did you feel about putting your thoughts down in audio?
It was weird. I'm not going to lie, but you do it enough times, it'll be whatever. But it was nice. It was nice to... it helps prepare for this,
Yeah.
Kind of get my mind in the right place for this show.
Absolutely. So what Chris and I do with that is we kind of give our instant reactions to the game, and now we've had time to digest and let the past game settle a bit more. We give you the more exclusive content like you got today. So that was fun. We'll see how that goes going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, Patreon is one way that fans get in touch with us, Chris. What are some other ways fans can send us their thoughts on the show, what they thought we got wrong, some other stats that we might have missed? How can they get in touch with us to do that?
Yeah, we have a list, quite of a list. Obviously, the website, FloridaFocusPodcast.libsyn.com, is a great start. Libsyn, Libsyn. A lot of activity on Facebook, Florida Focus Podcast. Same thing for YouTube. Twitter at Florida Focus Pod, and email FloridaFocusPodcast@yahoo.com, and Snapchat at FL Focus Pod.
Sounds great. Look forward to it. There's a lot of things going forward. Chris and I will make sure that you get a recap and a preview each week, so check for us Monday, maybe Tuesday at the latest, and we'll have our thoughts on Week 2 and a preview for Week 3. So Anything else before we sign off for the day, Chris?
No, it's just really good to be talking about college football. It's fun. And we're going to have weeks where your team loses, mine wins, and vice versa. We both lose, we both win. It's just going to be fun to talk about it. And and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably very therapeutic for you. And I'm going to be needing this as well. Some games in the future too. But it's just real good to be talking about college football.
I couldn't agree more. And so I'm glad that we have this to fall back on, and it certainly makes the season a little better. So all right. So thank you to the fans for listening. We appreciate it. 5-star rating on iTunes, and then a review to go with it would be nice. From Brandon, I say go Florida State.
Go Gators.